force. So what that means is they're incredibly strong and very capable of crushing bones. So what's required to break bones is in around the mid-200s. However, for the art of completely crushing 300, that's pretty much enough to do it. So what these guys will do is they grab their prey and they crush them. But to do this, they can't really be focusing so much on holding them the whole time. Because if they're to do that, what's going to happen is they'll think too hard about keeping the prey in their talons, and they won't be able to think about crushing it as easily. So instead what they do is they actually have a ratchet mechanism. What that means is their talons, they pretty much lock shut once they've caught their prey. It's kind of like lockjaw. So they shut and the bird no longer has to think about keeping them open. Really cool, really useful, because that way they can focus on crushing. And that is what they do best. As well as this, they also have something really unique, which is a groove under each of their nails. These grooves, what they do is they keep the prey bleeding even when the nails are inside of the wound. Kind of similar to a medieval weapon known as a halberd. What they do, grab them, crush them, and keep them bleeding, so the longer the fight drags on, the more damage they're doing, and the weaker the prey is going to get, the more tired the prey is going to get. Hello, Mr. Boo, right over your heads. Now, they also have phenomenal eyesight, but while I'm talking about that, as I said, they're extremely social. So much so, if you're polite, and you don't run out or you don't shout at me, we can actually bring out a few volunteers. So, would anyone like to come out and hold Mary Ellen and Boo? You put up your hand. In the blue at the back, do you want to come out? So, as well as this, these guys, as I said, they have phenomenal eyesight, and that's for a few different reasons. So, one of the first reasons is they have 5 times the light-sensitive cells in their eyes. What this allows them to do is see in a much better detail than we can. So they can process way more detail. What that means, we're spinning all over the place. So that means it's from over a mile away. These guys could see all these, I dropped a few. Oh, they're right, so sorry, dude. These guys could see all of these pebbles in perfect detail. So, so if you look at the ridge all the way at the back, from 4 times that distance, they could see all these pebbles in perfect detail. Great job. Anyone else want to have a go? Did you go there in the back as well? Oh, you have to sit down. You can't be running out into the path. Sorry. So if you sit down, you've got a higher chance of me taking you out. You can't be running out to me now. I am very mean. With your left hand. So, as well as having 5 times the light-sensitive cells, which allows for better detail perception, they also can see faster than we can. And the reason they can do that is FPS, frames per second. These guys can process 60 frames every second, so 60 images in a second. What that allows them to do is see perfect still image while moving at high speed. Anyone else want to have a go? Don't come out there? So, what this allows them to do is, as I said, they can see in a perfectly still image. They can do it for 2 reasons. Pupil asymmetry, so they can move each pupil, they can dilate and contract them at different means and times, and what this lets them do is see, as I said, in that still image. But it also helps them do something else. It helps them adapt to changes in light almost instantaneously. So albeit they don't have night vision, but they also don't have to be closing, squinting their eyes, trying to see. They can simply just adapt instantaneously, and that's because their pupils can get really big to take in lots of light within seconds. So if they go into a dark area from a light area, they're going to adapt and be perfectly fine. Great job. Anyone else want to have a go? Going to go down the back corner? So that's the main sort of idea with their eyes. But there is another one, but it's mainly theorized. And that is these guys are tetrachromats. Now the only reason it's theorized is because it's really hard to prove this theory, and it would take a lot of research. Still in the works, but if they could prove it, it would be exceptionally cool. What tetrachromacy means is they have 4 cone cells in the eyes, which is normally a trait among apex predators. Us as humans, we're trichromats, so we're able to see. Oh, Boo stole the food, he's very quick. So, as I was saying, what do you think? You want to go up, Mr. Boo? So, as I was saying, the tetrachromats, us as humans, we're trichromatic, great job. So we have 3 cone cells in the eye. Anyone else want to have a go? You want to go there? So 3 cone cells in the eye, what that means is we're able to see all the colours of the rainbow. MS and K are the cones, and they let us perceive all these different colours. The main one, the most advantageous, is red. No bother at all. So we'll try to count Mary Ellen there. She's up on the roof. So we'll think the big one. Oh, who's going to come instead? Hello, mister. So, as I was saying, great job. Anyone else have a go? Do you want to go down the pink? So as I was saying, being able to see red, it's actually a huge advantage among predatory animals, because it makes it easier to perceive any sort of movement, and it also makes it easier to perceive certain animals. A lot of animals have red coloration in them, albeit to some extent. Let's try and get Mary Ellen. Let's see if she has any interest in coming over. What do you think, Mrs.? So, being able to see red, as I said, predatory advantage. That's why tigers appear orange, because to dichromatic animals, so mostly prey animals, as well as, say, wolves, they actually appear green, so they blend in a lot more. Now, does anyone else know how to go? Can I go down the blue? So, the main use of that is the more cone cells you can see, pretty much it's easier to track down your prey. Now, there is one exception to this, and that is owls. Owls are monochromatic. They only see in black and white, but they rely on a completely different system to track down their prey. And so, general rule of thumb, trichromats and tetrachromats, they're normally higher up in the food chain because they normally are better predators. For tetrachromats, they have a fourth cone cell, great job, it lets them see UV or ultraviolet. Anyone else want to have a go? Want to come out there? UV or ultraviolet, what it does is if you were to look at blood, it actually makes it appear like it's glowing. And so, because of this, left hand please. So because of this, what happens is, it pretty much makes it so that these guys can see wounded animals, they can follow trails of blood from very long to short distances as they appear to be glowing. Great job, right over your head. So these guys will often actually latch on to pre-existing wounds, pull them wider, and that way it just makes the fight a whole lot easier over a long sort of distance. Anyone else want to have a go? Gonna go out there? Now, another thing that these guys have is their tail. Their tail is really important to them. It's kind of like a rudder, left hand please. And what it's used for is steering. So that's the general rule of thumb. A longer a bird's tail, chances are you're going to be a wee bit more agile. And so, keep your hand up high. And so, longer tail pretty much means you're better at steering, you're better at moving, you're a bit more agile. However, for these guys, their tail has another extremely unique purpose, and that is communication. They use their tails to communicate silently by wagging their tails. Sometimes if you look at Mary Ellen or Boo, they might do a little wag like that, and it's literally just them communicating. They can do it because of that white little belt at the very end of their tail. It's so known to them that it actually ties into their Latin name. What do you think, Mary Ellen? Gonna go off? She likes you, so she does. So, as I was saying, it's used for communication, and it's so important that it ties into their Latin name. The Latin name for a Harris hawk is Paraboteo unicinctus. And now it sounds like a lot of word jumping, but what it means in a simpler term is like buzzard with a singular belt. Anyone else want to have a go? Want to go out there? So, like buzzard with a singular belt, there is a reason for this. Para, Greek, it means like. Boteo is the Latin name for the common buzzard. And then uni, it means one in most languages. And cinctus means belt. So when you put it all together, you get like buzzard, single belt. Great job. Now, I think these guys have done fairly well, so I don't want to keep them on too long. Does anyone have any questions before I bring these guys back to bed? Anything aside from can I hold the bird? Any question? What's up?
Are you using them commercially? These birds, do you understand what I'm saying? Get rid of...
So we don't use them for hunting purposes. Instead, they're more so used as ambassadors, so to spread awareness. But the unique trait about these guys is they like to hunt anyways. So if they see a little baby bird, little mouse, they will go for it. That's why they have the bells. It's sort of used as a warning for other animals, but they're more so used to help educate people of awareness for different things and sorts like that.
Look at that.
Oh, big catch.
So we are seeing them at power plants, we're seeing them at wineries, handlers coming in to help with the rodent population. Is that happening here?
So not really here per se, for the main reason of, we normally use goshawks for hunting or other species of hawk, but it's more so hunting and falconry for sport, unlike, say, the likes of using them for that reason. The main reason of, we don't really have as many pests like that. We have a lot of pigeons, but pigeons don't really, they don't really cause much harm. Now, I do think these two have done a great wee job, so I am going to be bringing them back to bed, but thank you so much for listening to me, and enjoy the rest of the show, folks. 2 more birds there.
And I'm joined by our beautiful Willow. Now, Willow is one of our barn owls. We actually have 2. We got Willow and we have Jess. Jess is the old boy. And Willow will be half a year old in September, so he's the newest member of our team. And I would like to tell you a bit about what they're like so far, it looks like. So, Willow is from a breeder in Wicklow. We picked him up when he was 3 weeks old. And at that point, you could barely call him a barn owl. He looked more like a walking cotton ball. Now, right away, we start the training, right? But the training at the start looks very, very different. So this is part of training as well. We're in the final part of training, but he gets a bit distracted sometimes. But he's very good for flying back, so let's see. I got my eye on him. Willow, I'm over here, buddy. What are you doing? Yeah, right away we start the training, and the training at the start is very different from what you think it is, because at 3 weeks old, he can't fly, right? He's just a little fluffy ball at that point, so we took him home with us, and we'll watch movies with him, and by doing that, he gets used to loud noises, he gets used to different objects, so he doesn't grow up afraid, right? Then at 10 weeks old is when he's fully grown. That's when we start flying them. So at the start, we'll put him on the rock, we'll make a very small jump to the glove, and he gets a nice big reward for that. So he thinks, that's great, right? And he does it again. But we'll make the jump bigger and bigger every time, and then at some point, he will start flying like he's doing right now. So this is the final part of the training. As you can see, sometimes he gets a little bit distracted. But over time, of course, we will smooth this out and he will fly like our old boy Jess does. So. But more about barn owls now. You can find them almost everywhere. Only places where they wouldn't be found would be the Arctics, the desert, because as you can imagine, a bit too tough out there, right, for little guys like this. Now they do look a bit different around the world, so they can be bigger or smaller, they can be quite dark coloured as well, but the ones you see in Ireland look like willow, so quite small and very, very white. Now you might be wondering, how can this cute little bird be a bird of prey, right? But don't get fooled by that cute face, because they can kill up to 2,000 rodents every single year. So every night they will go hunting, and they will catch themselves 2 to 3 prey, so it's mainly mice, voles, shrews. But they will go for a small bird or even a bat if they can manage it. And their tiny bodies full of adaptations that will help them with that as well. For example, that beautiful heart-shaped face. It's a great way to recognize barn owls, but what it also does is redirect sounds directly into his ears. Now you might wonder, where are those ears? Because we can't see them, right? They're hidden, right behind his eyes, inside their facial disc. It's kind of good that they're hidden, because they're quite strange. They're just very big holes in the side of his head, and if you look through his ears, you can see the back of their eyeballs. But with those weird ears, they do have amazing hearing. So you can hear a mouse heartbeat from 6 meters away. So Willow over here can easily hear your heart beating right now. Now it's a little bit unfair that they can hear their prey that well, because the prey wouldn't be able to hear them. And that's because they are completely silent flyers. Except for Willow, not really quite, is he? But normally they can fly completely silently. A few reasons that he's able to do this. If you look at the outer edge of their feathers, they kind of shaped like a comb or a saw, so he's cutting through turbulent air, which normally creates a swoosh kind of sound. On top of his feathers, he got a velvet-like texture, which absorbs sounds. He got very big wings compared to his body, and he is very, very light. Would anyone actually like to take a guess on how heavy this little guy might be? What do you think?
3 pounds.
3 pounds? Good starting point. It's actually less than a pound, so we're talking ounces and grams. What do you think?
Half a kilogram.
Half a kilo, 500 grams. We're getting closer, it's even less than that. 250 grams, very, very close. Just a bit more than that, so we're sitting around 300 grams, 10.5 ounces for barn owls, so very light, right? So even with the slightest bit of uprising air, he can float effortlessly through the sky. And he will use this as well when they're hunting. So they will hover above their prey. And their prey can't hear that he's right there. He will wait. And when they move, he will hear exactly where they are. So they hover, just like this. And then attack their prey. This is what hunting looks like for little barn owls. Now their hearing is extremely important to them, because their eyesight isn't the best. Well, it's very different from ours, put it that way. So you can either see in amazing detail or you can see in the dark. That's kind of your options for the eyesight with owls or with birds. Since owls are active during dusk and dawn, so the dark hours, for them, makes more sense to see better in the dark, right? But they lose the sense of detail. So they will only see the rough shape of things, they'll see movements. Their world is almost in black and white, so they see very, very little color. But their eyes are twice as sensitive to light as ours are, and they are also massive. 70% of their skull is just eyeball. Not even eyeballs, they're eye tubes. They're shaped like a tube, and because of that, they're stuck in place. So if he wants to look around, he has to move his whole head. But luckily for them, They got 14 vertebrates, double as much as we have. And that gives so turn their star around. Does anyone know how far they can turn their heads? I hear a few 360s. I always hear that. It's a bit of a myth going around. So I always like to say they can do it, but only once, and that's pop. So it's less than 360. 270, spot on. Since you had the answer right, would you like to hold them? Would you be interested in that? Since you had the answer right, would you like to hold them? Yeah, perfect. So we'll get a few volunteers with Willow as well. So if you already had a turn with Hawk, of course give someone else a turn. And sadly, I can't take out the very, very small members of the audience, because we just got a little bit distracted by that. There we go. Well done. So they can turn their head 270 degrees. You can also look 90 degrees up and 90 degrees down. But still, he would have never seen his own 2 feet because they cannot see up close at all. That's why I'm feeding him directly 2 feet, because otherwise, he just wouldn't find the food. Well done. Great. Perfect. So we'll get a few more. So is there anyone else? Over here in the blue. Come on over. Now, just a bit about their conservation. Even though they're found almost all over the world, it's only here in Ireland that they are on the red list, so they're endangered over here. Good thing, boy. Might have to do flight first. There we go. Perfect. So they're endangered over here. So a few reasons are loss of habitat, loss of nesting places, roadkill is a big one, and rat poison as well. So when a rodent eats the poison, they don't die straight away. Well done. It can take a couple of days. Anyone else over here? Yeah. In those days, they do slow down. So as you can imagine, they become an easy target. Right, your left hand, the other one. Perfect. That's all right, buddy. Come on over. Oh, did you get embarrassed now? It's okay. Come on, boy. Well done. So yeah, barn owls might catch him, or red kites. Can you keep your hand up? Up, up, up. Perfect. Foxes, your own cat, your dog. So a lot of animals actually struggle with this issue. So a very simple one is don't use rat poison, right? Use something else like a trap. Does the same thing but without the poison. Let's see. So kind of the bigger kids. Come on over. Your left hand, please. Another very simple thing you can do to help barn owls is not throwing rubbish out of your car, right? Because rubbish attracts rodents, rodents attracts barn owls, and when they hunt, they fly very, very low. So that's quite easy target for getting hit by a car then, right? Let's see if he wants to come over. Come on, Bridget. Come here. Let's see. We'll get him back. So we'll take a few steps over here to make it a bit more obvious where he's supposed to land. Come on, buddy. Are we hunting for leaves? Whoa, well done. Sometimes he likes to pounce on little dead leaves. That was one of the biggest distractions at the start of our training. There you go, well done. Perfect. Of course, another very good way to get rid of rodents is to get one of these guys in your area, right? Now, not every area, of course, is suitable, sadly. But if you live in an open area, away from busy roads, well done. What you can do, you can put up a barn owl nest box. So those 2 wooden boxes you see over there are nest boxes for barn owls. We have leaflets on here on how to build them, where to place them. So if you're interested, please come up to me afterwards. I can tell you a bit more about them. But we also support the barn owl project in the green. Did you want to go as well? Perfect. So the barn owl project places them around Ireland. And what they also do, they help injured barn owls. So we raise donations for them, and with those donations, we're mainly paying for the bills and the vets to help these injured barn owls and hopefully get them back into the wild. Now, you'll be my last volunteer because he's getting a little bit distracted, as you can see. Willow, I'm over here. Willow, Willow, over here. There we go. So I know when he hears me, when he looks at me. Come on, sweetie. Almost. Alright, we'll try that again. Lovely. Now the screaming, of course I have to explain that as well, right? Because why is this bird screaming so much? We'll get him, we'll get him. If you stand here for a second, I'll see if I can get him on my glove. What are we doing? So the screaming basically means food, 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 food. You're the food lady, where's my food? Now, the reason he does that is because he's been raised by people, so in captivity. So ever since he hatched out of the egg, people have been feeding him. Come over here, sir. Sir. So just like any other young animal, when they see mom, when they see dad, they start to scream, right? But in Willow's case, that says, don't go over there. Don't do it. He loves going over to say hi to Kevin and Sam and the maintenance team. Ooh, butterfly. You're such a good little hunter. I know. There we go. Let's see if we can get him over here. Perfect. And let's see if we can get him. Come on, it's right there. Yeah. All right. But we'll get him. We'll get him. Don't you worry. There we go. Perfect. Thank you for your patience. Now I can guarantee you as well, he's not screaming out of hunger, right? Because we've tried feeding him as much as he wants, and he still screams. So, it's just more so letting us know, I am here. Look at me. Look how pretty I am. Give me a snack. So he will probably be doing this all his life, which in captivity is about 20 years. Jess is the old boy, he's 18. He's been screaming for the full 18 years, so it's going to happen. But yeah, you have one more bird to see, so I'm going to disappear with Willow. So thank you so much for listening to me, and enjoy the rest, guys.
Does anybody not like vultures? Does anybody think they're ugly? Nobody thinks they're ugly? Does anyone? Be honest. You can leave, and you can leave. No, I'm joking. Hopefully by the end of this you might like them a bit better, because they are pretty phenomenal animals. This is Dyson. Dyson's coming walking in today. But Dyson is a white-backed African vulture. Says in his name, they are native to Africa. That is where you'd find them. Dyson in particular, he was born in a zoo in Europe, and he's been here since the centre opened in 2008. So he's well used to the Irish weather, well used to the drill. Although saying that, he still doesn't like the rain, so hopefully it stays dry today, because otherwise he won't be a happy guy. Now he's going to go straight up. Do you know what vultures like to eat? Any ideas? Dead things, yeah, 100%. They feed primarily on carcasses or carrion or dead things, whatever you want to call it, but that is the only thing they eat. And by doing this, I like to say they're a bit like superheroes, because what they do is they prevent dangerous bacteria and viruses from growing on the carcass, and they also have a stomach pH balance of 0.7. So that's similar to carbonic acid, and what that does is it neutralizes pathogens, which limits the risk of spreading diseases to animals and to people. They also eat the carcass clean so quickly that they suppress insect populations that are linked to disease. So they're very much like superheroes, and they're very good at keeping away sicknesses and diseases from us and other animals in that sense. So I like to say they're very much like superheroes. Also, on a side note, if you ever want to get rid of a dead body, feed it to a vulture. Because of the strong stomach pH balance, it gets rid of all DNA. So just a little side note, if you want my number afterwards, great thing to know. So they are amazing animals for that sense. I say he's like a superhero, but I will admit he's not as handsome. He's not as handsome as Tom Holland or any of the rest. And that's all for the purpose of what he likes to eat. You can imagine carcass very bloody, very dirty, not the nicest food to be eaten. So the less feathers that he has helps to keep it nice and clean. No feathers means no mess. So you can imagine it keeps him nice and clean in that sense. The long neck is for getting into the carcass. They go into the carcass through existing holes. I'll let you imagine what holes they are. But that lovely long neck allows him to get in there to all the yummy stuff as well. And his wingspan, if he does any flying today, hopefully, you'll be able to see his wingspan. His wingspan can reach up to 7 feet. So he has quite a large wingspan, which helps him soar effortlessly as well. Because they come from Africa, what they usually do is they use thermocolumns. Thermocolumns is basically natural elevators created by the sun that the birds of prey use to gain altitude without having to flap their wings too much. So you'd use those to get really high, and then he just glides and soars effortlessly with minimal effort. He is actually preening himself right now. I don't know how much flying he's going to do today. He's just like, no, not today. We'll see. Hopefully, hopefully. Any guesses on his age? What do you think? 10? Older. 42? Bit younger. But you're actually close with that. He's in his 30s. That's my hint. He's 36. 36 to be exact. So he's 36 years old. So in the wild, they would live to their 30s. In captivity, They can live well into their late 60s, if not 70s, because of access to vet care, food every day, and nothing trying to kill them as such. They double, triple their lifespans in captivity. So he's in his 30s, he's been doing this since 2008, so he is very much used to the drill, he knows what to do, he's just a stubborn boy. That is why it takes two of us to fly him as such. We're trying to encourage him to use more of the arena, that is the plan, because as I said, soaring and gliding is what he does best. So that's what we're trying to encourage for Dyson, because that's what's natural for him in that sense. Do you notice him drooling yet? You might see him drooling. He drools when he gets excited for food. So he drools, and they also have the squeals kind of similar to a pig, which is another thing they do when they're excited for food. When they do discover food, what they do is they circle around, and that's basically to signal to other vultures about food discoveries, and then they'll eat in groups. So they're very friendly as well. They like to share their food. Oh, go on, Dicey, you can do it. Let's go. There we go. Lovely. Now hopefully we'll get some flying from him. So they're very friendly. They like to share their food in that sense. They can actually store up to 1,200 grams of food in their crop, so that's enough to sustain them for 4 days. So if they eat a really big meal, they don't actually have to eat again for another 4 days, which is pretty handy as well. Works well for them. Could never be me. I need to eat every day, but the vultures get it handy. Have you ever wondered what the highest recorded bird in the world was? Has it ever crossed your mind? Maybe. It wasn't quite Dyson, but it was the Ruppel's griffon vulture, and it reached heights of 37,000 feet. So it was an accidental discovery. Somebody's on an airplane, they looked out the window and they seen a vulture. So next time you're on an airplane, you might get lucky, you never know. But the reason why they get so high is because of their breathing system. It's completely different than ours. So when we breathe, it goes in, goes out. When vultures and different birds of prey breathe, it goes in, goes to air sacs, and then it goes out again. So Dyson has 9 air sacs in total, and he can take up to 3 breaths at once. So that's why they can get so high and not lose consciousness like we would if we were at those heights. So their breathing system is phenomenal as well. And the eyesight, so he can see about 8 times better than we can. So medium-sized prey from 1 mile away. And they also, it's said that they can see in ultraviolet, so that means that bodily fluids will kind of glow to them like Christmas light stuff, which make a lot of sense considering what they like to eat. You can imagine all the blood and different things will be glowing to him, so it helps him find his food. Don't think he's going to do a lot of flying today, but he can walk just as good as he can fly in fairness, so he gets the best of both worlds. He has flat talons and a short tail, so he can walk just as good as he can fly, so he'll do some walking instead. A lovely walking display for Dyson today. Fair enough, it's always up to the birds in that sense. And Dyson is pretty phenomenal. He's an amazing guy. All vultures are, as I've been saying, very much like superheroes, but it is really sad because they are one of the most endangered animals in the world. There's loads and loads of reasons why. Habitat loss, goes without saying, they're losing their homes. Another big one is because of a veterinary drug called diclofenac. Diclofenac was an anti-inflammatory drug that was used in livestock over where they're from as an end-of-life term. When those animals died with that drug in their system, then vultures like Dyson ended up eating those animals. It actually caused kidney failure for the vultures, which led to them becoming very endangered. So that's a big reason of why they became endangered. The drug now is fully banned, and it has started to come back for them. That was why they were first endangered as such. Another big thing that is still ongoing is they be purposely targeted and persecuted, because remember when I said they circle around, signaling to other vultures about food discoveries? Police knew to follow the vultures to discover illegal poachers. So illegal poachers does not like the vultures because of this, and they used to purposely target them and poison them off and kill them, which again has led to them becoming very endangered. There is places like Vulture Rescue Nepal. They do amazing work for vultures. They have things called vulture restaurants, which sounds really funny. But it's a place where they provide vultures with clean carcasses to eat that aren't poisoned, and again start to make a massive comeback for them. And this isn't to make you sad, it's just to make you more aware, because the more you know about them, the better it gets for them in that sense. And hopefully they'll become a lot more widespread again. And Dyson is just sitting there like, what? I am doing nothing today. Go on, Dyson. He is a little bit chunky today. He's a little bit past his flying weight, we'll say. When they're past a certain weight, so all birds have a thing called flying weight, which is the weight they fly best at. If they're a little bit past that, it's like us after Christmas dinner. They'll look at you and be like, what are you trying to play at? I'm a lazy guy, I don't want to do anything. So that does tend to happen. He got a lovely rabbit head yesterday, so it boosted his weight up. But he was happy on it, so that's all that matters. Any guesses on his weight? What do you think? What would he weigh? 1 kilo. You're actually being nice to him. So many people like to fat shame poor Dyson, so that's really nice of you. Any other ideas? What do you think?
2.5.
2.5 kg. You're still being nice to him. He's still a bit more than that. He's 3.5, so you were very close. 3.5 kg, that's all that he weighs. Not very heavy at all. He is in the smaller side, I will admit, he's a bit of a small guy. In general, they're about 3 to 6 kg, so Dyson very much is in the smaller side. That's why he's here with us, not part of the breeding program, because poor Dyson, he doesn't have the right genetics, bless him. But it's okay, we don't judge him. He's here as an ambassador to show you how amazing vultures are, and he is just the best. He does look heavy when he's on Patrick's glove, but it's more so he's just very awkward. He likes to lean into you like a drunk man. That is how I explain trying to hold Dyson. He's trying to carry a drunk man home, you know, that kind of way. That is what Dyson is like. He's quite a funny dude. You can see some of the feathers coming off him as well. That is because he's in the middle of his molting. So a lot of our birds are molting at the minute. They're losing all their feathers. They're regrowing fresh ones. So you can see that with Dyson. So the white fluffy feathers coming out, that's actually his down feathers. So they're the ones that are in the very inside. So he's very much going for a heavy molt and regrowing all those fresh feathers as well. Yeah. Do you have any questions in particular you want to know about him? So that'd be rambling on. Any? In captivity. Yes, you might have noticed there we have a few people going around at the minute. That is our vets. So we get vet checks for our birds every 6 months where they come in, they look over our birds. We do fecal samples as well, so we test their poop to make sure they haven't caught anything, because birds can get a lot of infections and diseases and things like that. Respiratory is the biggest one, so they can get a lot of respiratory diseases and things. So we have to be extra cautious. Avian flu was a big risk this winter. We actually had orange warning. So we almost had to close down. If we switched to red, we would have had to close and the birds would have been allowed to fly. So it is always a risk that we have. But we get our vet checks and we get our fecal samples. So our birds are always up to date. And if they ever get a scratch or anything like that, they just go straight down to Limerick and they get sorted straight away. So it works well for all the birds. Do you have a question? We do not have vultures in Ireland, no. We don't, no. So all our birds are captive bred. So all 24 birds that we have are all captive bred, born in zoos and falconry centres. So they have been born in Ireland, the UK, or Europe. No, not in Ireland. So in Ireland you'd see common buzzards. They're kind of one of the most common bird of prey. Yeah, so you'd have common buzzards, you'd have sparrowhawks, merlins, kestrels, peregrine falcons and such. We actually have a vulture, we actually have a buzzard in the aviaries over there called Neve, so you'll be able to actually see what the buzzards look like. So once you walk around the aviary, you'll be able to see Neve. Roughly around the same size, yeah. Dyson's in the smaller side, as I said, so in general they would be bigger, but Dyson's small, so yeah. You would see them quite commonly flying in Ireland. They hover high in the sky and they're big birds. So that's probably, yeah, you would have seen them more than likely. There is a big distinction between them. Vultures are their own species as such. Vultures eat dead things. That's a big, big thing. They don't hunt. And so that is a big difference between the buzzards and vultures as such. Buzzards hunt. Yes. Yeah, so vultures feed primarily on carcasses and carrion. That is the only thing that they eat. They would never hunt or anything like that. Buzzards, they do hunt though. They quite commonly would go for magpie babies. That's their most common hunt in the wild, so they can hunt. They are mainly scavengers, but they can hunt. No, definitely not. Not as social as vultures. Vultures are in their own category altogether. Does that answer your question? Okay. Now, he is the last bird for this display. We do have another display at 1:30 and 3:30 with completely different birds. Your tickets get you back in, so if you want to come back, you can. But thank you so much for listening to us, and do have a great day.
golden. There's actually trees.